All right, welcome everyone to the LPCA Executive Committee meeting for Tuesday, June 11th, 2024 at 7 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order at 7:07. And when the secretary is ready, we'll go ahead and have him call the roll.
Okay, we'll start with Mr. Malagon.
Present.
Mr. Alvstad. I know he's present. He might just be muted.
Physically he is. I don't know if he is mentally, but it does appear that he's here. Oh, there he is.
Secretary is here, Ms. Hallisey.
Yep, I'm here.
Mr. Butts. I think he's not here.
No, I don't see him.
Ms. Stump.
Present.
Mr. Dean.
Here.
Mr. Brown.
I'm here.
Mr. Byrd.
Here.
Yeah, he's there. Mr. Hartwig.
Here.
Mr. Jimenez. No. Mr. Nichols.
Present.
Mr. Strachan.
Present.
And Mr. Sullivan.
Here.
Mr. Cardin. And Mr. Apostolopoulos.
Present.
All right, that completes the roll, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. And for the record, I will say, I don't think I said this while we were recording. While no one is surprised to see me in a seedy motel room, I am in New Mexico collecting signatures for ballot access here in New Mexico. So there is a good reason this time for me to be in a seedy hotel room. I'm trying to save the LNC some money. And that's also why I am very red. Apparently there is sun here in elevation, things that I did not take into account. Anyway, moving on to the next item on the agenda. We have the adoption of the agenda. So I did send it out last night. I assume that everyone got to take a look at it. It's very short. Yes, Mr. Sullivan, you may use the chat for anything you have to say. As a man, I will permit it. If you were a woman, perhaps, we don't let them speak. So, but yes, you are allowed to use the chat as needed. Oh, you got a haircut. Did you get a haircut? Or no, am I just, oh, nice. Look at that. You're a productive member of society now. Congratulations. Welcome to the working world, sir. All right, so we'll move on to the adoption agenda. I sent it out last night, very short. I will now entertain motions to adopt the agenda.
I move to adopt the, okay, go ahead.
All right,
Motion
Ms.
to
Halsey.
adopt the agenda.
All right, Ms. Stump moves to adopt the agenda. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Ms. Halsey. Is there a, man, out of the gate swinging at the same time. Any objection, I'm sorry, any discussion to the adoption of the agenda? Hearing none. Any objection to the adoption of the agenda? Hearing none, the agenda is adopted. We'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the approval of the meeting minutes. So these minutes are from the May 20th, 2024 Executive Committee meeting. Sorry. So I'm assuming that everyone got a chance to take a look at them. Our secretary did a fantastic job as always. I will now entertain motions to adopt the, to approve the meeting minutes from May 20th.
I move to approve the minutes.
All right, Mr. Strachan moves to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by someone.
Mr. Brown.
Mr. Brown, sorry, I didn't hear it. Oh, yes, Mr. Apostolopoulos, if the record could show that he is seated, because we are missing at least one at large. So we're missing Mr. Jimenez at the moment, and also Mr. Nichols. So he can be seated for either one, whoever comes in alphabetical order first. Well, that would be Mr. Jimenez, I guess. So he can be seated for him, and then we'll discuss that. And then Mr. Cardin is absent. So yes, Mr. Apostolopoulos. Oh wait, he is. I'm sorry.
Nichols
so he
is present.
I was testing you just to make sure that your mic was working, and you passed. So congratulations. You got an A. I hope to get one someday. So yes, you are seated for Mr. Jimenez then at this time. All right.
Got it,
Thank you for asking. So we have okay, so we have a motion on the floor to approve the meeting minutes for May 20th. It was moved and seconded. Do we have any discussion? Hearing, oh wait, no, Ms. Harlows can't speak on this anyway. It doesn't matter. Any objection? Hearing none, we will move to the next item on the agenda, which is an investigatory committee resolution. Now, before we actually get to this motion, what I will do is I'm going to go ahead and move to go into executive session to discuss this motion before the motion is made. So just for discussion, because there is potential legal action. So I would like to go into executive session with the executive committee and also Mr. Jonathan Jacobs and Ms. Karen Ann Harlows. And it should the Region 4 rep, Ms. Meredith Hayes, join us, I'll include her in this as well. I know that she's in the middle of some calls and stuff. So I will make that motion to go into executive session with the executive committee, Mr. Jonathan Jacobs, Ms. Karen Ann Harlows, and Ms. Meredith Hayes, should she show up, for the purpose of discussing potential legal action. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by
I'll let
Mr.
Lauren have it.
Dean. How generous. Seconded by Mr. Dean. Is there any objection to going into executive session with the executive committee, Mr. Jacobs, Ms. Harlows, and Ms. Hayes? Excellent. So the way that we're going to do this, just to make it easy, I'm going to go down the list here just in order. So I believe it's Mr. Richard Brown, Ms. Miotico, and Mr. Minoletti. So I'm going to move you all to the waiting room while we're in executive session. That's just the easiest way to do it. And then I will pause the recording. So feel free to stick around if you'd like, but you'll be in the waiting room until this is done. So we will see you shortly, or good night if you don't stick around. Okay, just before I stop the recording, or pause the recording rather, so we have Alvstead, Halsey, Dean, Brown, Edgar, Strachan, Jacobs, Sullivan, Stump, Harlows, Hartwig, Bird, Nichols, Fireflies. That always cracks me up. I'm gonna move that to the waiting room too. Take that, AI script, and Apostolopoulos. Okay, perfect. So everyone that should be here is here. All right, we have risen from executive session. All right. Okay, cool. Well, looks like we're good to go. All right. So per our discussion in executive session, I'm going to move that it be resolved that a committee of not more than 3 be appointed by the chair to investigate the conduct of LPCA member Honor, quote, Mimi, end quote, Robson, et al., in relation to their conduct with the Judicial Committee and the National Credentials Committee, which may have disturbed the well-being of the LPCA and hampered it in its work. If the committee concludes the conduct was objectionable, it is authorized to report resolutions covering its recommendations. Those members will be Mr. Gary Alvstead, Mr. Chris Edgar, and Mr. Lauren Dean. The language has been submitted to the secretary already. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Halsey. Is there any further discussion that would be appropriate for this motion? Hearing none, we will move to a vote whenever the secretary is ready. When the secretary is ready, will he please call the roll?
All right. We'll start with Mr. Alvstad.
Aye.
I will vote yes. Ms. Halsey,
Yes.
Ms. Stump,
Yes.
Mr. Dean,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Byrd,
Yes.
Mr. Hartwig,
Yeah, sorry, yes.
Mr. Jimenez, I think is still not here.
Correct.
Yep, okay. Mr. Nichols,
Aye.
Mr. Strachan,
Aye.
Mr. Sullivan,
He wrote aye in the chat. He's unable to speak.
And Mr. Apostolopoulos?
Aye.
Okay, Mr. Chair, the vote is 12 to 0 to 0 to 0.
And the chair will vote aye, and we'll make it unanimous. Excellent. All right, so we'll move to the last item on the agenda, which is adjournments. Would anyone like to do the honors?
Move to adjourn.
Mr. Dean moves to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Strachan. This is a non-debatable motion. We'll move to a vote. So is there any objection to adjournment? Excellent. Hearing none, we are adjourned at 7:57 Pacific Daylight Time. And I will go ahead and stop the recording now.